Hello and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons & Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. It's us again. We're back.
Yes, we are back.
We are back. I mean, we've been back for a few episodes, but just in general, my name is Fiona, and with me, as always, is Hamilton. Hello, Hamilton.
Hello, Fiona. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we saw each other fairly recently in person.
We did.
In the flesh, which was really fun.
In the Big Smoke, as it's known.
Big Smoke, yes. Yeah. That was really fun. Got some minis together, which is lovely.
Did. I know. I got some Modrons and Duodrone and some Dwarven Wizards. What did you get?
I got Nosferatu, some little Nosferatu for my Curse of Strahd campaign. And what's the other thing I got? I've put them away, typically.
You got some Winter and Summer Eladrin, didn't you?
That was it, the Eladrin, yeah. I really like the Eladrin, but I was looking at them after we bought them. And I was like, oh, there's so many details. But that's good. I need the practice.
What I have got on order coming today is 160% increased glasses.
Oh.
Because I'm a nerd and I want to buff my glasses and be able to actually see the details of the minis.
In hands.
Yeah, in hands. I was watching, there's a very famous painter in the Warhammer world called Richard Gray. Now, if you want to watch someone who is ridiculously talented and make you feel bad about anything you've ever tried to paint, it's worth watching any of his stuff. I recommend it. He's Golden Demon. Do you know Golden Demon?
I've heard of them, yeah.
It's like the awards there's Warhammer's awards for like best painters, mini painters. And he's won the thing called the Slayer Sword, which is like, not only do you win the Golden Demon, but you have like slain all the competition. You are the best of the best. You you win your category and then you win all the categories. You know what I mean? So you've won the category and then you won everything. And he's got two of them.
That's so... Oh, he's got two of them, so he's definitely won.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. Yeah.
That's so cool. I guess because only in Warhammer would you have names like that rather than like Watercolor Artist of the Year or anything like that. No, what do you say? The
Golden Demon.
Golden Demon. Yeah. And the Slayer Sword.
Yeah.
It feels very WWE, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it should be. And I mean, to be fair, I would love if architectural awards were like that. Not the Sterling Prize, which is kind of a cool name, but if it was like the Sterling Sword of Awesomeness or something like that, I don't know.
We don't get anything like that.
Like the Win the
e-learning.
Temple Award, like the Golden Temple.
Yeah, just something like a color and an adjective and like awesome at the end. Yeah, we don't get that in higher education or e-learning. We've got something that I'm supposed to be doing called the Shine application, which is supposed to be like excellence. I hate it.
It just makes you think of that. What was that hymn we used to sing at school?
Shine, Jesus, shine. Yeah, it feels
the world filled with hope and oh my gosh, that's in there.
There you go. Is it this is well off topic, but so the UK comedian Jason Manford, he did like a album of assembly hymns, like a bangers.
Oh, right.
For charity. So they had so he would go out and remix those songs.
Jerusalem, Shine,
Hosanna.
I am the Lord of the dance.
Yeah,
I'm the Lord of the dance, said he.
Yeah, it was for charity, but I did think to myself, God, anyone could have done that. And that's really annoying.
Exactly.
Speaking of nothing to do with those things,
I didn't know. I was not expecting this conversation to go.
We never know how we start these episodes. It's always our little chitty chat, isn't it? So, Hamilton, what are we talking about today? What is our topic of choice?
We are talking about the hunt for the Thessalhydra, which is the Stranger Things Wizard of the Coast crossover event.
Yes, the collaboration, this sort of starter set, which sort of came out in 2017 when Stranger Things... I didn't realise Stranger Things has been out that long. It feels like it's just been around forever, but also a very short time. It was basically a promotional sort of thing, trying to get people in, similar to how we've done the Rick and Morty sort of starter set, and they've got the other ones as well. But yeah, this one was specifically like, let's get Stranger Things fans into D&D, because obviously Stranger Things draws a lot of inspiration from 80s D&D.
Yeah, and I think there was a critical mass at the same time, but I think it was a big progenitor of the new wave of D&D fans really came through Stranger Things. I think everyone's sort of focused on that as one of the key ones. I can't remember what the other ones now. There were so many other things at the same time.
But it felt like that in the TV, TV. This is that is D&D, because obviously we've had stuff like we've mentioned like the Community episode where it's about D&D. Obviously we've got lots of actual play shows as well. There's always a D&D or a role play episode or a LARPing episode that gets put out there. But this was like, oh no, Even from the very
like
beginnings.
Big Bang Theory as well played it.
Of course,
but
Big Bang Theory.
It made it cooler, Stranger Things. I think that was the thing, wasn't it? It was nerds playing it, like they always are. But I think it just the fact that the story, as you said, like is using D&D characters. Every episode, every series has been a new D&D character as the main one.
Well, this is the thing. It's because it's a science fiction show, Stranger Things, and the way I sort of interpret it is that because it's about kids dealing with these things. It's very Tales from the Loop, kids on bikes RPG system, right? But the way they go, how do we comprehend what is happening to us? We use D&D monsters. So, of course, the Demogorgon was like in the first one. Yeah. The Mind Flayer. Can't remember what the third one was.
That was in both, really. Mind Flayer was both series.
That was it, yeah. And then obviously now Vecna in the probably the final 2 series, because there's one more series that's yet to come out. But it's really interesting because at first they didn't really. It was sort of like flavoursome from it, and then they were like, "Fuck it, let's just go straight into doing these D&D things." Certainly now in Series 4, which is out as well. But like, what's your take on Stranger Things in general? Are you a big fan of it yourself? Are you like? I know you're watching currently. After we talked about this, you're now watching season 4.
Yeah, see, like, every time a new season came out, I'd watch them immediately. And actually, I'd be even more than that. I would rewatch from the beginning all the way through to then, so that it would start like around the time that the season was coming out. And then the 4th one came out, and I saw all of the like it's D&D themed. It's very heavily D&D. Everyone was talking about it. And Fiona, what that does to me is it makes me go in a box and not want to watch it.
Yeah,
because I don't know what it is in me. I just like it's too much pressure on it. I think like to like it, and it becomes such a daunting task to even start. And I don't know why. It's like me. It's the same feeling I get when I have to edit things. I don't know why. It's like I don't want to be disappointed by what I'm gonna see, and I think that's just it's a fear thing. So I've started it and I've loved the first episode so far, obviously, as I knew I would anyway deep down. But I'm much happier watching it now without everyone's emotions around it.
Opinions as well, especially because I think I had the same thing about Game of Thrones. But what I would do is that I would just literally go shut myself off and watch several episodes. Same with House of Dragon, Rings of Power. I really enjoyed it when I watched it, but it got to a point where I think because the zeitgeist, the way obviously we are, we read Polygon, we read and everyone's like, oh, look at all this stuff, and you're like, I want to enjoy it by myself. And maybe that this is a feeling we have in some RPG communities as well. That be like, oh, there's lots of people talking about it, but I just want to talk about it with my friends and just enjoy it for what it is, and not have critiques and reviews about it saying like, oh, it's not as good as this, etc. And I felt the same way about the D&D movie. I had to go see it, and then I could read all the stuff about it, and then not have the pressure to go and see it with all the
things in your head.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, because I watched it when it first came out, we had a wedding we were going to, and the night before the first episode or the first part of the book, so they do it in parts, I seem to remember. So we stayed up late to watch it, because I will say season 4, they are long episodes. They're like feature-length films.
Whoa. Yeah. The first one's an hour and 15, and I mean, the first so far feels like it was necessary. Like it gives, they need to, I mean, for a first episode, it's kind of a classic thing, even in the olden days, like when you would have the first season episode would always be like a 2-parter, wouldn't it? But it seems like this is every episode. It's like that length.
Again, I don't want to be that person that now puts you off from watching it. But again, each episode goes on to a point where it is, I think one of the final episodes is like 2 and a bit hours.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that. Yeah.
And the thing is, for me, when I was watching it, it kind of makes sense, but I had to have a break halfway through. I'm an old lady. And the same with like, I remember when Return of the King came out in cinemas, and I went to see it like as a special screening.
Yeah, an intermission.
And that's not like, and I know they used to do that in the olden days. I say like 70, it's however many years ago. But I'm just like, I get it, but we don't. This is not the way we consume media anymore. Like there could be easily could have been a quick break. I feel certainly for that 2-hour one,
particularly with a streaming thing. Like, but then again, I don't know. You pause it where you are.
Or people do the not illegal thing, but the unspoken thing of *2 speed through. Are you doing that?
I wouldn't do that with a TV show. No, I wouldn't do it. What would David Lynch say to us? I'm already watching it on a TV and not in a cinema, let alone 2 times speed.
David Lynch, famous DMBC listener.
He's always listening.
He's always listening.
Just like Grant.
Just like Grant is, even though he's not into D&D.
I like how we said Grant Howard is in this shop when we were in a shop with someone that we knew in another Discord community.
I know.
I know. How weird was that? I think I saw them. I saw them discussing something.
Everyone's connected in the role-playing community somewhere, somehow.
Anyway, but yeah, it's really good. And I am looking forward to listening to Master of the Puppets, because that is one of my favourite songs to drum along to. And obviously, I've always been a fan of Kate Bush. I mean, Kate Bush is one of my big hot faves. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, and I was like, when that song was coming out, and people were like going, you don't know Kate Bush.
I know.
I was like, no, people love Kate Bush again. Yay, she's amazing. Can we get her out of the wherever she's hiding and get her back again? Because there isn't enough Kate Bush in our life.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of interesting because obviously now we have films like Guardians of the Galaxy, all that sort of thing, that have a curated soundtrack. That people are like, oh god, and people are discovering it for the first time. Like there was an article in the Guardian ages ago about people discovering music through playing video games, so like racing games stuff, and they had their whole track list, and they're like, this was the sound of my childhood through playing these games because I wasn't a music nerd.
Well, Tony Hawk's is a classic example of that. I mean, like and I love, there was a really great little mini documentary about the people who made the music on that first album when they were making the remake, and they got loads of them back. And some of my favorite bands came out of that. And GTA, Grand Theft Auto, Vice City was such an incredible like 80s soundtrack. Like that got me into so many more. I was already into like hard rock music, but it got me into the sort of new romantics music that had been, I guess, pillarized for the last 10, like the 90s and noughties. Everyone was like, 80s music was so crap. And then literally that album came out and it was like, then that's when you started getting the 80s revival bands coming out in like the Future Heads, but also like VHS or Beta and all those sorts of people.
So this is the thing, like, again, for those people who are like, what is Stranger Things? Not sure. I do highly recommend it.
Who are these people?
I know. It's like, have you seen Game of Thrones? You know, that sort of...
I haven't actually seen Game of Thrones, but I do know of it because I don't have Skies. I don't have the Sky.
Well, that's true, isn't it? So,
and I'm not an illegaler.
Oh, who is? Anyway. No one saw.
Audio only podcast.
But yeah, so I would highly recommend checking out at least the first series on Netflix because ultimately, at its heart, in case you haven't seen Stranger Things, it's about a group of pre-teens that then become teens, obviously throughout the whole story, about being affected in their small town of Hawkins. And it's also about, you know, the big things happening. It's obviously politics and all that sort of thing, but also the sci-fi, but also about the relationships between kids and how do they deal with these sort of things and how do they come up against big organizations, how they're going to save their friends. And you think all the odds are against them and stuff, and it's some really good sci-fi. The music, as we said, is great. And there's a lot of, I think, really emotional tensions and stuff. Certainly, again, there may be minor spoilers. We're talking about like Hopper, for example, the character of Hopper, this police chief that goes from sort of a bumbling sort of person who becomes a dad who then dies, you know, and it's just a whole arc that everyone was invested in.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say the writing is incredibly good, and obviously the two main writers, the Duffer brothers, they played D&D. They fully immersed themselves in this thing to the point where there's now going to be a stage show of what happens in Stranger Things, like a spin-off one in London, I think next year.
You said this, the other day.
Cool. And again, I don't know too much about it, and I'm not going to say too much about it because I feel like it will be spoilers for you specifically, Hamilton. But yes, so it is a franchise that is sort of slowly expanding and using D&D as its sort of main theme and main sort of like, if you like this, you'll also like this. And so that's where this starter set sort of comes in as a tie-in per se.
Yeah. I think what it does, and I think a lot of people have said this, so I'm not saying anything new, but I think it picked up that first feeling when I watched E.T. the first time.
Yes.
You know, that is what it is for me. It's like E.T. for the modern era and all those sorts of like movies from that. But anyway, yeah, it just captured that feeling of those 80s movies so well that not only does it theme it in the actual storyline, but I think everything is just so, that sort of really heartfelt interactions with people, a sense of innocence that those old movies had, and the sort of camaraderie and characterization's great. I mean, like, so you love this game, tag yourself.
Yeah, I do. It's my new favourite game.
Tag yourself for Stranger Things.
Oh, which character?
And also had Winona Ryder in it again, which for me is you can add 10 to any score automatically.
Absolutely. And the thing is, though, she obviously, again, it's not like, oh, there's Winona Ryder as a cameo. She becomes such a big character, and it is so, like, again, it goes through so many emotional roller coasters as well. Like, it's
getting her, it's like a big break again for her, it feels like. And I think she should do more stuff because I know she went through a very difficult period, but like, she's a really incredible actor. And
she's great.
I think that it's a real shame that she's not in as more things than she. You know,
I think she's having a bit of a what's the word? Renaissance. Is that the
Renaissance?
Renaissance.
A Matthew McConaughey and a Winona Renaissance. I just think the point is she has always been a talented actor. And
Agreed.
It's a shame when someone who's talented doesn't get to do as much.
Yeah, they don't. Something happens that is maybe beyond their control and stuff. But yeah, if I was going to tag myself, I think there's an ideal and there's a reality. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'll do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay. My ideal is that I would be Steve Harrington. Who goes also through an arc, which is great. I love that in the first two series. But I think in reality, I am definitely a Dustin.
Well, Fiona, surprise, surprise. My ideal is I'm Steve Harrington.
What are you in reality?
Probably Mike, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I think I probably am.
Yeah, that's fair. I love that. I think everyone's ideal is to be Steve Harrington, even though
Steve Harrington is the MVP, right? Like on the court, off the court.
At one point, this could be a little bit of a spoiler, but at one point they did think about killing off his character, and they were like,
"What?
We can't. No. He's gone through a massive character change, and now he is the go-to dad."
His first season arc, and when he is with Dustin in the car telling him how to do his hair. It's one of the like sweetest moments when he just goes, "All right, what you do is you get this," and I was just like, "That, one of the best characterizations."
Yeah, and again, it's that sort of thing where you know the chemistry with the people in the cast and stuff. They clearly are really good friends and stuff, and it just comes across so. Anyway, we're talking about the TV show quite a bit to set up for the fact.
Because my reason for why I'm Mike is that I was into D&D and then I pretended to be too cool to be into D&D, and then I got back into D&D. That's why I'm really Mike, because I'm like. I'm really a nerd, but I'm going to pretend to not be a nerd because I got a girlfriend now. And then it's like, actually, I love D&D.
But yeah, let's look at the starter set. So in the starter set itself, you get this adventure called Hunt for the Thessalhydra, which is sort of, I believe, when I was doing a little bit of research on this, it's supposed to be written, it's obviously written from the point of view of Mike Wheeler, so that character we just spoke about as if he's written it for or playing in a one-shot with his friends. But it's supposed to be like a homage to 80s D&D modules.
Yeah, it's by Mike, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it is by Mike. It's because there's a little picture at the front which says Will the Wise, where you think it's going to be Will Byers is writing it. No, it's Mike who is the dungeon master on it.
Exactly,
So yeah, it's very confusing. Even I thought that was a bit confusing myself. But it's interesting because like I think this is obviously pitched as an earlier season one because it is written in a certain way going like, okay, here's some DM's advice to myself.
Yeah.
And it's obviously written as a sort of opening, sort of like, here's what you do, etc. I do think, though, I feel like because Stranger Things, maybe because I'm an old person now, it's aimed at a slightly older audience.
Yeah.
Having something like this where it feels like it's a child talking, feels like it's aimed at a younger audience. And I don't know if there's a mishmash in terms of the points of view here. Because again, through this whole adventure, it's a short adventure itself. I was just a bit like, I don't need the point of view per se myself, but I don't know if it was like, oh, we're going to make it special.
It's a shtick, isn't it? And I think that you just have to do, I think that's the thing, they kind of stuck with it. I agree with you, because it's like, the story is very like, dumbed down. Which is fine, because it's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be explaining, but it explains D&D as it feels like it was when I was a kid. You know, like, that's how D&D was when it was just like, okay, you are paladin, you are got sword, go fight with big monster over there. Why is the monster here? I don't know, it just turned up. Don't ask too many. Sir Tristan, yes, good person, sends out with money. Yes, don't ask too much questions. Basically this whole story is mostly like a 2-part dungeon crawl with it's a bit sort of light on the role-playing bits. Obviously you do have it, so you are sent out, you're sort of a group of adventurers sent out by Sir Tristan to go kill the Thessalhydra, which has been terrorizing the town. And basically you go from A to B, in B for a little bit, go to the Upside Down, I wonder what that is, and then go to D, which is the lair, and then hopefully kill the Thessalhydra with some flavor stuff in. Yeah, what did you make of it overall? Was there anything that stood out to you? I think it covered all the 3 pillars well enough. Like as you said, it does have a bit of role playing. You have the audience for St. Tristan. You also get those opportunities to talk with the NPCs that it gives you along the way to help you. So it gives you the opportunity to learn the location of it through either communicating with these NPCs, but if you don't get enough out, you could just stumble upon the cave. or you can do tracks and you can do all the testing. So there's a bit of exploration. There's not so much exploration, but there's the dungeon crawling element of exploration. There's the role playing. You get to talk to the troglodyte leader as well.
Yep.
And then you get combat. So I think it covers all the bases, which I think is important. What do you think?
I mean, well, because I guess for your point of view, because you've read the Rick and Morty starter set at least.
Oh, I guess that's a starter set.
Yeah. Like I feel like for this, because obviously it is very, very short for what you get compared to the Rick and Morty, which felt quite fleshed out. Like lots. Obviously, that too was a dungeon crawl, but it was like 30 or so rooms.
Do you think that's a starter set? I would just consider that like like a one-shot adventure.
Interesting, because it obviously comes with both of them come with pre-gen characters. I think it came with like advice. Obviously, hey, this was your first game running it, so I would suggest it was a starter set in my mind. But again, it's this for me. If you think about the starter sets in general that have been set up, we've got Lost Span Delver, which everyone has either played in or heard about. And it's now been expanded into a bigger setting because it is so popular. You have Dragon's Spire Isle, I think it's called, and then Stormbreak as well. Those are the sort of
I don't know which one I've got. I've got one, but I don't know.
There's the D&D Essentials, which is that, I guess, a little bit like a D&D
I've got the
set.
Essentials kit, I think. Or have I got the starter set? I can't remember. I can't see the box.
I can't see the box.
Starter set. I've got the starter set. I don't know what's in it. I've never looked. I literally got it so I could get the dice.
I have way too many dice from starter sets now. I'm like, guys, just don't worry about it. I've got plenty of D6s. It's fine. For me, like, I guess comparing it to the Rick and Morty one, which I know is different humor, different audience entirely, etc., but also trying to get people in. I guess because the price of these things would have been about, if it's a starter set one, maybe $25, $30, probably when it first came out. I feel there isn't too much with the Thessalhydra. Like you do
$25.99.
Yeah. Like you get your pre-gens, you get this adventure stuff. I guess the money would go on the two Demogorgon minis that you would get with it if you're getting the physical copy. But apart from that, I don't think you get much, to be honest with you. Like for me, like obviously you said you got a bit of dungeon crawl, a bit of fighting and stuff like that, and then you have this sort of. I think the coolest bit of it is that during the first dungeon, when you're trying to find out where this Thessalhydra has gone, it ends up in this sort of this expanding labyrinth, which you can roll for and do all the stuff in, which I think is very cool. I quite like that. And then you have like an interaction with the Lost Knight, which is like, this is the puzzle bit.
Yes, and some riddles is always a classic move as well. So I'm glad that they had that.
Yeah, no, and I quite liked it. My issue with it, Hamilton, which I know sounds bonkers, is that there's only 2. And really, a pattern is 3. You need one more.
I agree. I totally agree with that as well.
I don't know why they don't have it. It seems bizarre because you do the first one, which is like it's just like a physical puzzle. Like you're trying to catch up to him. He says something, and you're like, oh, I understand, and then you do it. And then the second one is like an actual physical puzzle where you're putting in statues that feels very much like a crystal maze type thing.
Oh heck! Do you know a Sing a Song of Sixpence? Like,
do you know? Oh, I did, but I wouldn't have got it from the thing. So so this second riddle. Let's read it out. So you solve my first riddle, and now you find the missing piece to put my collection. He points to 3 shelves above a doorway, and steps through, and it magically locks behind him. Very typical. But on the first 2 shelves, I have 2 small statues, and the third one only has 1. On the first statue, you have a man with a crown and a bag of coins. Second shelf, a woman with a crown with a jar of honey. And then shelf 3, a common woman wearing an apron and an empty space for a second statue. And there is a large table covered with small statues, including a cake, a pie, a spinning wheel, a basket of laundry, a plate with a steak, a toy soldier, a sword, and 24 sculptures of crows. For me, I would switch it round. So, I mean, maybe depending on how difficult people find it, to have the pie and the sculpture of crows. So I feel that's more obvious than like, because that's in the first verse.
Because they open up the pie and then the crows come out, right? That's
exactly,
right,
yeah. That's baked in a pie. But also, blackbirds is a species of bird, right? So it goes like 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. Then blackbirds aren't crows.
Yeah, no. Just when they have blackbirds.
Maybe it's just one of those like typos or something. Also, that's very, very nerdy of us to be like, well, actually, they're crows and not blackbirds.
I mean,
I just feel like I like the idea of like having statues and stuff.
But I like it. Yeah.
I think for me to make it a little bit more personalized, I would just write something myself, which I know is like.
I was just getting triggered by the bloody Durst house again with the bloody Reba statues.
Always comes back to the Durst house.
What the heck was that about, actually? Was there actually any clue to that, or was it just you fuck about?
Remind me which bit it is that you're talking about.
The room before you go into the water place to fight the big
the sort of little alcoves down beneath and underneath something. No, it means nothing.
I knew it meant nothing. We were wasting, taking this from there, moving this to here, farting about, putting it on the column of blood.
As far as I remember, it's just stuff that you could take, and it's like because it's the whole point of the Durst house in Castrad, which is slight spoilers, is that it's a fake cult, right? Yeah. So they're just dragging down people there to murder them and show that they love Strahd, etc. So all that sort of cultist stuff, it's all pretend. So yeah, but I will say for that particular room, there's a lot of alcoves and lots of things to play with. So I can totally understand why people would be like, let's move around, let's see what happens.
We spent a whole session,
especially because I think there's definitely a gate.
There's three columns, and one of them's on fire, and it's all a bit very much this is clearly something you've got to do to open the gate to make it work.
Yeah, because the gate is shut, so it totally makes sense that you'd be faffing around there when really you could just
open the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew we'd be back at the dead house so soon? Once you've managed to get through you'd solved these two puzzles by the knight.
Yeah.
The knight tells you, the Thessalhydra is using this portal, this sort of plane ships or whatever to get to its actual lair. But he goes through a place called the Upside Down. Woo! What have we heard about that before?
I don't know what that could be.
And that's when we get to, I feel like, the most interesting part of this, because I guess it's supposed to be like D&D first with a bit of flavouring of Stranger Things. Obviously, it then describes the Upside Down, the Shadowfell equivalent, essentially.
I hope they go to the Shadowfell in the D&D movies, because they're in Neverwinter, and one of the biggest, most famous places in the Shadowfell is Evernight, which is the Mirrorverse version of it. And I hope they do that, because I think it's been presented in Stranger Things. People will be aware of what it means.
We do have a D&D TV show coming out. Maybe that's where they can explore stuff like that, if it's not necessarily the focus.
Oh, I'd love that, yeah. If they could do that one where they walk along the one we did, where that was in Minx and Boo, where they walk along the tree and then the branches end up in the... That was really cool.
Going to the Upside Down in general, which I think is a cool place, you don't really spend that much time there, because obviously it is just a travelling from A to B. Yeah. But more importantly, you got you get lost, you get stuck there with your band of adventurers, and then, oh, thank God, the DMPC, the quest help, appears as the proud princess. I wonder who that could be. Shocked face.
Were there 10 others before her? Was she the 11th in her line? Anyway,
I kind of wish that she has some stats or anything like that, because she's described as, obviously, you can't kill her, you can't do anything, because I guess
she's Lady of Pain. She's Lady of Pain.
She's Lady of Pain.
You don't stat Lady of Pain.
That is true.
She just turns you to blood puddles and sends you to mazes, and this is what she does. I will, though, however, thought these stats that they have given her are very useful for people who don't have stats, because it actually isn't a set way of doing that. And I was thinking, you're running the Lady of Pain, you're like, well, what do you do to people? And you just say, if she's system fire, they can only hit it with a critical hit. Love that. And even then, she shrugs off whatever damage they do, and her attacks always hit them and deal 2d6 plus 6. I mean, that's a really great,
simple, 2 lines.
Simple couple of stats that I can now use whenever I have a unkillable character.
Like a deity or something. If people are fucking around and finding out, that sort of thing. Yeah, I agree. I think, so that idea that you can only hit her with a critical hit, like, how often does that happen? Like a 1 in 20 chance, right? But she sort of gives them the way out. This proud princess, she says, I'm on the hunt for something called the Demogorgon, and it is attracted by blood, and so basically you need the monster's blood bled on this flower, and it opens a portal. And then you have a proper big fight with this Demogorgon, which has really cool stats, I think. Like, it's a challenge for, again, I assume it is like slightly based on the sort of older D&D stuff, but brought into fact. But, it regenerates.
Yeah, because the old Demogorgon looks like two-headed big beast thing with like whippy hands, and I do like how they've done it as like every time they're making the Mind Flayer doesn't look anything like it does similar things, and it has a little leech thing that goes into your ear, which is what a Mind Flayer does, but it doesn't turn you into they're not Zoidberg thing. It has different stats to the actual original Demogorgon as well.
Remind me, is that Demogorgon you're looking at? Is that the demon one?
Yeah, the huge thing.
Yeah, so that will kill them straight away.
That is an armor class 22, 464 hit points. Challenge rating of 26.
Yeah, those small children from Hawkins can probably handle it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it can take 2 legendary actions, which is gaze, tail, plus 17 to hit. So roll a d20 plus 17.
I feel like, though, I'm that sort of person that still rolls quite low, so I'd probably roll like a 2. and it will be like
still get a 19 though.
Yeah, but my players, they're wise tricks. They go like, oh, my armor class is now 22 because of this, and this, and you're like, damn it. Okay, it's gonna have to be debuffs. That's all I'm gonna have to do.
It can stun you, confuse you, and hypnotize you, so you're charmed. And it can also cast spells: detect magic, major image, dispel magic, fear, telekinesis, feeble mind, project image, which aren't actually useful. They're all debuff spells. We're like, but telekinesis is all right, but what the heck are you gonna do with that? Project image is like confuse people. It's very confusing based. But when its tentacles do +7 hit and it can take 2 attacks, it reduces your damage once you've been hit if you fail a DC 23 Constitution save. Ooh. Imagine that. So you take, so how much damage? You take 3d12 plus 9, so you take an average 28 damage. Okay, great. Now roll me a Constitution save. I rolled 21. That doesn't count. Your hit points are now down by that amount. You'd be just like, that's
brutal.
That is fun.
I wonder then, like, looking at this, because obviously this is meant for level 3 characters. Maybe you could, if you were feeling it, level everyone up to level 20, and then just make it the dungeon. Is that there's more troglodytes. You fight the Demogorgon in the Upside Down, like have the actual stakes, perhaps. Because compared to that, the one that we've got in the Stranger Things, we've got obviously Keen Smell. It has advantage on Wisdom, Perception checks, Blood Frenzy, advantage on melee rolls against characters who don't have full hit points, and then regeneration itself, which is brutal. I've actually run this adventure very briefly for some sort of charity event, and they could not get past the regeneration. They were really struggling with it. It regains 10 hit points at the start of each turn. If it takes acid or fire damage, it doesn't function to the start of the next turn. And it only dies if it starts its turn on 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. So it has to be killed with fire. It has to be killed with acid.
Also worth noting that it and the Thessalhydra both appear in the Infernal Machine rebuild.
Oh, yes, that's on. I've got that on D&D Beyond. That is like, it was an extra life thing, I think.
Yeah, the Infernal Machine of Lum the Mad. I had a brief look at it. I love the cover of it because it's got a really cool little art on it. But I've not actually played that. Have you read through it then?
No, I've not. Well, it sounds like something for next time, perhaps. If it's maybe, because it's quite. I think it might be quite short. As she says, touch wood. It might be quite short.
I think it is. Yeah.
If it's an extra life thing, it usually quite is. Because I feel like it's a remake of an older module as well. So once you've somehow managed to slay the Demogorgon, put its blood on some flowers, they burst violently open, and then you go through a cross-planar gate. And then you get to the lair of the Thessalhydra, which seems quite straightforward in my view. There's some spiders. There's a big pit you have to sort out. There's some more troglodytes. So there's actually quite a lot of fighting involved in this. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a chance to rest at all. So you have to be a little bit careful if you're because you're only level 3. There's an ochre jelly, which could be a fight if you want it. And then finally the Thessalhydra at the end, which is sleeping to begin with. Just don't be too loud, essentially. But that is a challenge rating 4 as well in this particular one. It's got acid saliva, it's got tail pincer, legendary actions as well for a low-level adventure.
Oh, I think that's kind of cool.
Again, I can't remember which podcast or which actual play did it. I think it was Mark Humes on High Rollers who was like, I want to make boss fights more tense, so they will have like boss actions as well, which are like legendary actions, but they only get like 1 per round. So they just interrupt that initiative order just to spice things up a bit. And I'm a massive fan of that. So yeah, this particular Thessalhydra in this adventure only has 2 legendary actions. And it says 1 legendary action can be used at one time and only at the end of another creature's turn, which makes sense. And then you've gained them. So you can only use 1 of them.
Was it challenge rating 4?
4 on this, that one. Yeah, because we were talking it before podcast, because obviously the Thessalhydra comes from previous editions as well. And I just don't know what the particular stats, because I don't know if they're in...
The new, in 5e.
Well, it looks like, according to ForgottenRealms.fandom.com, it is a challenge rating 4, but if you go further back, 3rd edition, challenge rating 15.
Well, in the Infernal Machine rebuild, it's a challenge rating 4 again. It's the same. As it is. Infernal Machine rebuild it's also got a Tarrasque in it, by the way, but it has both the Thessalhydra and the Demogorgon.
A pet Thessalhydra, and then at the end, oh, by the way, a Tarrasque as well.
There's an Oblex. There's a Doppelganger.
Oh my word!
Hey, we've got to read this. It's got Incubus, Homunculus, Hellhound, Bioelemental, Lizard Folk.
That sounds Nightmare, like a meat grinder, to be honest with you.
Pseudo Dragon.
Let me look this up.
Bone Golem. Shit. Umber Hulk.
Does it say what level of adventurers you need to be for it?
Adventure time for 5 characters of 5th to 10th level.
That's at least a little bit higher than what I was expecting. Usually they're like 3rd level for.
That's quite cool.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's connected to the Lost Laboratory of Qualish as well.
Yes, I haven't looked at that. That one definitely is a remake of a previous Gary Gygax module, which I was going to look at some point. So there you go. Oh, there you go. That's our content meeting sorted. There, we'll look at those two next.
There we go.
Just to sort of finish off on the hunt for the Thessalhydra, it is populated with images that are sort of drawn by presumably
Will
Mike.
Wise.
Well, I assume Mike because he's the DM.
Yeah, but Will's the artist, though, isn't he?
He is the artist. He plays the wizard in the game, I think.
He's doing some art, which is obviously going to be meaningful at some point, I'm imagining.
Oh, yeah. In the Series 4. Yeah.
I have my theory is that I've seen that GIF that's been done so many times when he's looking out the window and crying, that I'm imagining it's some sort of relational thing that he's having with, is it Mike, I guess? He's sort of
lips are sealed. I'm not spoiling it for you because it's an interesting one for sure.
It's I mean, that's the thing, talking about back on like how good the story is, just the character developments they're making outside of the games and stuff like that have been just so pretty incredible, really, aren't they? It's kind of
So there you go. What are your final thoughts on it, Hamilton? This sort of quick adventure, essentially, the Thessalhydra.
I think it's pretty good. I think if I was someone that had not played D&D and I thought, I've liked Stranger Things, this looks interesting. It's got the old-fashioned cover on it. Or if you were someone even who had played it back in the day and wanted to get back into it, I think it would give you the little nostalgia hit from that cover of that box was quite cool. I like the thematicness of it because I'm a bit of a fan of things like secret cinema and stuff like that. I kind of like those big experiential things, and I think that's I think it adds to it. I agree that it does make it feel childish, but it's trying to promote a simpler version of the game, which I think is good for a starter set, and it gives you all the little bits that you probably need just to experience it. So that's my personal opinion. What about you? What do you think?
I think because I always expect quite a lot from starter sets myself because I want them to get into the game. I feel like it's got the thematic stuff there, for sure. But I think compared to, I appreciate you've not read Lost Minds of Phandelver, but even the Rick and Morty one, obviously that had a different sort of personality behind it. And that was a lot of fun for me as someone who is a GM, etc. I think there wasn't enough there, but I guess because they're just trying to get people in, this is what it's like, etc.
Yeah.
I would also say as well, but that Stranger Things, as much as it takes inspiration from D&D, it isn't like an accurate, in quotation marks. If we're going to be those people like, well, actually, it's not like this, etc. Certainly in Series 4, whereas they do a games at the beginning of one of the episodes and stuff, and it's like, whatever. I know we do these things where we change it for actual players, but I think my worry is that people will go, my thing is that people would go and go, well, this is not what they do in Stranger Things. This is not what they do on Critical Role, etc. And I just think, for me as the DM, I know it says here, it's like, you'll be fine. Just go. It doesn't matter. These are just examples. They're not the law. They're not something to follow through. So
yeah, I get that. I think that you would gain that if you enjoyed this and you moved on. You would find that, wouldn't you, if you weren't playing it? So people are going to get angry about it. Yeah, there's no point being angry about that because that's not the way they would do it. Well, but it's doing something different, isn't it? It's trying to get people into it.
I think I wouldn't want to pay $25 for this adventure. If you see what I mean. If I was buying it as a PDF online, I think 10.
If I play D&D, there's no point. I don't think there's any point buying this game. Unless you absolutely love Stranger Things. I think if you're already playing D&D, you don't need this starter set.
Yeah, if you're already into D&D and you don't need this at all, like it doesn't add anything more to things.
Unless you want that box physically and you like you're collecting Stranger Things, or you really, really want to, really want to play it. I wouldn't recommend it to someone who's played D&D because I don't think you'll. Apart from the minor thing I said about I like the way they've managed the labyrinth. I think it's cool as well, and I think the way they've managed an unkillable NPC interesting.
Like, I think for me, if I was going to run it, I would definitely try and like up the levels a little bit, but mostly because I'm playing with people that usually have played D&D or seen it in some capacity. So I think I wouldn't want to. It's not like this is an introduction. It's like, okay, this is like an actual.
To be honest, if I knew people who played D&D and you picked up on it earlier and wanted to play Stranger Things, I would go and get Tales from the Loop or Kids on Bikes and make an adventure based around that because they've already played D&D. Hey, come play this new game. We will experience it. We'll be in Hawkins and we'll fight the Mind Flayer in a mall, sort of thing,
Again, if you were not experienced, but if you were like really into doing it, like Die is always a good one where you're playing personas who then go into a cursed game. So you could be like, okay, you are playing kids who then go into D&D and then experiencing
or the Upside Down world. sort of thing. Or,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, try find Barb, all that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Barb.
Oh, Barb. Oh,
Lest we forget.
justice for Barb. Brilliant. Well, there you go. Thank you, Hamilton, for reading through The Hunt for the Thessalhydra.
Well, it took me about 20 minutes.
I know. That's like a record for us, isn't it?
Fiona, what a dream. What a
choice. What a choice. Well, next time, obviously, if we choose the Lost Laboratory or the Infernal Machine rebuild.
Why don't we start with Lost Lab and then go to Infernal Machine because
Let's do that. I think that'd be really cool. Because, it'd be interesting to read more of these extra life stuff, which I'll put out for charity stuff and seeing, what do you get more out of it? Would we prefer more stuff like that coming out regularly as a more complete one?
Extra Life has provided us with still our constant return favourite of Mix and Boo, and so I've got high hopes, to be honest.
Where can we find you if you're on the internet? Is there any stuff coming up? What are your plans, etc.?
You can find me on the internet at the Dragon DM on Twitter. You can find me on now YouTube and Instagram at Hazard Stripes, all one word, and on Hazard Stripes, something that is going to come out hopefully today, which is Tuesday the 20th of June. A video of me painting the character that I played. And talking about them, I also shout out Fiona on that episode and what we do here, because it's a bit of a explanation of what I do, and whilst I'm painting along. So you can see me paint my little character if you want to know how to paint a Black Orc Corsair, but you can see me also play that character on Actual Play UK, the YouTube channel and Twitch stream, playing a Black Orc Corsair elf pirate called Kaileri Tidebane. I'm all dressed up up
for it. That's the more important thing. You're dressed up, which looks fabulous. I was like,
not as cool as Fiona's beard on the other one, though.
I mean, but I could do a beard anytime. I was like, well, Hamilton in a long blonde wig, back to the
old days.
Yeah,
exactly. It's actually white. It is just pure white. It's a Witcher wig, basically.
A Witcher wig. There you go. Yeah. I see. I think that we were talking about this before. I think I've now got to the habit of I want to dress up for every stream I'm in, even if it's just it is quite fun. It's just sort of no one else. You can't go out like this, so might as well.
Well, no, but I think exactly. I think also, personally, I believe it really. If you're doing a visual medium, I think a bunch of people just sitting there in the t-shirt going "Oh, Saint Tristan, the Paladin." Is get your bloody night suit on. What are you doing?
Get your night suit on. Just get a little child's tabard.
I don't know. Personally, I just think putting a bit of it gets you it's part of getting into the role of it. You feel a bit more,
I definitely felt that when I was doing Eugene with my beard. It was just it made me feel a bit more dirty.
Just feel it made me feel dirty. It made me feel what were you eating all the time? Bugs and crap.
Bugs, trash, bin juice, licking screens. Yeah, all the usual stuff.
Oh, the bin juice. So vile.
But yeah, for me, you can find me on What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly RPG one shot podcast.
I didn't get to do the joke.
You didn't get to do the joke. Do you want to do the joke now?
No,
it's too late.
You ruined it.
I've ruined it. I ruined it by going in with my own promo. But yeah, we've got stuff out. Hopefully, Die the RPG is coming out now. I'm in the middle of editing it, so that's good. Got a few other bits and pieces. We've got Flabbergasted coming out. Hopefully, we've recorded half of that, which is fun. It's like a 1920 sort of Jeeves and Wooster, that sort of thing.
Oh, love it. PG Woodhouse.
Yeah, PG Woodhouse vibes essentially.
It's farcical.
So farcical. It's not as farcical as Idris Spy, but it's definitely that similar sort of vibes.
I really want to play Fiasco because that has that.
Yes.
That sounds like a really good game, and it has that very farcical but mixed a bit with Ocean's 11 sort of this. But I kind of really want to do that. Fiasco
is great, and that's a really cool GM-less game as well.
Yeah,
so I might do that then on a Too Long Didn't Read RPG.
You should do that.
Because
which TLDR, everyone, or if you didn't know, IDK, what the fuck, WTF.
But all the
synonyms. If you are interested in learning some more about some games, Quick Fly, every so often you can find.
There's no schedule
on the Twitch. Do you have the ability to save your Twitches?
I do. I've been saving them. I'm just wondering what to do with them. So so a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I've got a bit of time between stuff, and rather than just fall asleep,
I've got time between my 14 different things I run every week.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So I thought I would stream me reading through sort of quick starts, which is wonderful. Till I realised that I might need to do a big disclaimer saying that I'm not sponsored by any of them at the beginning, which is quite funny. But yeah, we've done a couple of them. As I said, I've done the One Ring. We've done Fate Accelerated. We just did City of Mists, which is I Again, I hadn't really read it through before. Really interesting. A little bit complex towards the end where I was slightly dying a little bit. But I think once I watched a few actual plays and some how-to videos,
I think complicated. When we did the other failed project, that it was very complicated. And there's a lot to sort of manage, and trying to build a world around that is actually quite complicated as well.
Like the setting and the concept behind it, I absolutely love. But then as soon as you get into the nitty gritty of it, like it isn't a powered by the apocalypse game.
Yeah.
But then
it's very built on. It's not as basic as the original.
There's some really cool elements to it as well. So yes, we've done that. I'm going to try and do one tonight, but I'm not entirely sure what RPG I will do. So we'll have a little think about that. And so that's been quite fun to do. I'm going to put them up on YouTube at some point.
Please do.
Whether they're full episodes, or maybe if I try and chunk them down, because it ultimately ends up with 2.5 hours of me just chatting shit.
About beans.
About beans, about me not liking certain things, ignoring combat in a few of them, because I was like, no, too difficult. But yeah, I thought they'll definitely be up on the YouTube at some point.
Cool.
There's no particular schedule just yet, because it's summer. I don't know when I'm in and out, basically, because I try and do it just after 5 and then to go it till about 7, because that's when I usually do stuff there. But yeah, that's the plan for those. Will it become a big thing? I don't know, but it's quite enjoyable. It means I actually focus on reading some RPGs, which is always good.
Well, that is good, and I think the more you can do that, the better.
And I think that's it for me. I don't think I have any other plugs or anything like that just now. I think good. I'm good. Are you good?
I'm done. Yeah.
I'm done. Back to work we go.
Let's go.
Well, how about it? I hope you enjoyed the rest of Stranger Things. Let me know how it goes.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm literally now going to just watch it all day whilst I'm doing work, basically. That's
I think that's the best way of doing it. Just keep it on another screen and every so often go, what's that?
My 160% glasses just came to the door about 2 seconds ago, so I might try doing some painting of her face to see how good it is.
Ooh, that'd be quite cool.
I just want to test it.
Enhance.
Enhance. I can do the enhance.
Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you on the next time on DM's Book Club. But until then, see you on the flip side.
Have you seen that advert for that show, Never Have I Ever?
No, what's that?
It's on Netflix. It just comes up as like the immediate, you get an immediate
I've
advert.
not seen that. No,
and it's like, I don't know, some season, I don't know what it's. It seems like teenagers who are losing their virginity or something like that. And she loses her virginity. She goes, "Oh, we've done that." And she goes, and it's then all awkward. She goes, "See you on the flippity flop," and then walks out the room. And I was like,
way.
They did the thing.
Oh no, are we cool now?
What a way to leave someone. Just like,
see you on the flippity flop. All right, there you go. All right, we'll see you guys on the flippity flop.
No, let's not do that. Let's stick with the flip side.
All right.